I just want to make a shout out to my my stepfather, my mom, and my uncle, and all the people who live this life and experience what I experienced. I was born in Anaheim, California, and moved to San Diego when I was 5 years old with my mom. We moved in with my mother's younger brother, my uncle. He was from National City. He grew up there. He has a big IBS tattoo in block letters on the back of his head. It stands for Insane Boys, which is the surrounding neighborhood street gang. Growing up in National City was rough, tough, and rugged. I had no father figure, so I looked up to my mother's brother. I call him Uncle Rich, but in the barrio, his placazo is Big Pee-wee. When I was just a chavalo, I took an oath to myself and swore I would be like him. Little did I know, that would involve me getting jumped into the local street gang, which is Old Town National City. Or maybe I should say, I was born into this lifestyle. At least that's what I once thought, growing up in the stomping ground, the city we call Nasty. Let me tell you a little bit about my childhood. When I was 12, gangster rap like Tupac was poetry to my ears. He talked about oppression, growing up without a father, getting out of the ghetto, and making a lot of money. I would relate, except when he would talk about money. I used to walk around the local mall, the Plaza Bonita shopping center, with a few friends. I remember I would try to resemble Scarface, the way he acted very prideful, egotistic, and tough. I used to think I was so untouchable, walking around with my chest sticking out and shoulders held high. Little did I know, I was just imitating what I saw. One day, my friends and I got out of school and decided to go see a movie. Upon exiting the movie theater, my friends Dennis and David walked out with me. Dressed like little gangsters, we were all wearing red, or flamed up as we used to call it. The rap music had an influence on the way I normally would dress. I swore I was a blood from Compton with a red bandana hanging out of my left back pocket. The more I learned about gangs, I realized Crips wear their bandana on the left and Bloods on the right. I glanced over to my left and noticed from a distance some bald-headed cholo staring at us. He took off his lokes from his eyes, put them on his head, and mad-dogged us. Then he started to follow us outside. When we neared toward the parking area, he banged on us. "Where you little vatos from, messe?" Seemed to me he was just stalking us for the right time with nobody else around. I got very nervous and frightened. This was the first time this had ever happened to me. Sweat appeared in between my fingers and palms. I even started to shake the closer he came. I replied saying, "Huh?" like I didn't understand what was going on. He replied, "Oh yeah, Viper from Old Town National City gang, Insane Boys, fool. Do you know where you vatos are at wearing all that red? Plus you're Mexican, fool. What are you, a norteño?" When he said that, I got really quiet and acted like I didn't hear him. I didn't know how to reply. I knew a norteño is a northern Mexican, the southern Mexican gang's fierce rival enemies in prison. He walked over with his fist balled up and a blue bandana wrapped around his wrists. I began to breathe very heavily. I didn't know which question to answer and felt like a little kid who was scared to say the wrong thing. So I replied with an attitude adjustment. "No? Yeah? National City? I'm not from anywhere." My pride and huge ego had been demolished, but I was scared and it felt like my heart was going to fall into my stomach. I was pretty sure of what was going to be next. I heard about these stories all the time. Usually when my uncle would talk and hang out with his friends, they would chill in the garage, play cards, drink, and give each other gang stripes, tattoos. I would hear that usually someone would either get beat to a bloody pulp, or even worse, killed. I panicked and was going to tell Viper, "Hey, my uncle's Big Pee-wee from Insane Boys." But before I could spit it out, I saw 3 more guys in the background walking up. They looked older than me, like they were in high school, but you could tell they never went. Viper yelled, "Sapo, Quique, drogas. Let's teach these little punk chavalas a lesson, not to be sporting red in our barrio." Sapo was very tall, bald-headed, and super buff. He walked up with a muscle t-shirt and scared the living shit out of me. My heart started pumping very fast, It felt like my heart started pumping very fast. It felt like it was going to bounce out of my chest. Quique was flaco and inked up from head to toe. He looked like he loved tattoos because, judging from a distance, it seemed he had no room to put another. Drogas approached from the side and seemed to be carrying something by his waist. At first glance, I could not identify what he had, but from all the gangster movies I used to watch, it seemed to me he was packing a firearm. I could see my life flash before me, and it was too late to tell them who my uncle was. These guys meant business, and they weren't leaving without a fight, or possibly a kill. David hissed in a low voice, "What are we going to do?" This angered me. We were all scared and didn't know what to do next. Viper and his homeboys were yelling with confidence. I admired their readiness. I felt like I had backed down. My Uncle Rich had a name for guys backing down: sissy boy punks. This clicked in my head and kept getting in the way. I looked over at my friends and said, "In 5 seconds, run, and I will meet you on the other side of the mall." Then I looked over at the cholos and said, "Fuck your barrio," gave them the middle finger, and ran. Before I knew it, Dennis and David were gone with the wind. They must have run super fast because I never saw them leave. The cholos sprinted after me as I dashed across the parking lot, hiding behind cars. I thought, oh shit, what did I do? My big mouth once again had me in a wreck. I peeked through a window to see where the cholos were. I got a clear view of Drogas dropping his pistol. He stopped running towards me and began looking for it on the ground. Sapo chased after me, after my friends, hollering and ranting, "Watch, I'm gonna get you little bitches." Viper was hunting me like a prey, and he was the predator. He was never going to stop after I disrespected his neighborhood. He shouted, "Pussy, wait till I catch your little ass. I'm gonna fuck you up, ese." He looked for me behind cars, talking shit with his hands in a fist. Again, I was hit with my conscience. All I could think of was my uncle and my grandpa, who were both gangsters. They would not approve of me running and acting like a punk. It was not an option in my family. However, this got my uncle a free paid state bus ride to prison. I began to think of how my uncle and he couldn't or wouldn't run. His name is known in the barrio, and I knew it was because he was feared. He didn't take no for an answer and rolled around the neighborhood with a gun and bullets with different names on them. A thought finally crossed my mind. Could I ever be like Big Pee-wee, or should I? Maybe it was time for me to give it a shot. I decided to stop running and face Viper. He had an evil grin on his face with a smirk that could scare the Jesus out of you. When I stopped, he walked up and said, "You ready, little punk?" wrapping his fist with a blue bandana that said Southside on it. I replied, "Let's do this. I'm tired of running and you chasing me." By then, Drogas had caught up to us, and Viper told him, "Here, fool, hold my fileto. I will handle this level one-on-one." I took off my chain and began to square up with him, thinking, oh well, my uncle and mom can't save me from this one. Drogas looked at me and said, "Viper, fuck that little fool up. Then after, we'll go get some pisto and go chill with these hyenas." He said, "If fools are ever talking in the mist," I thought of when I talked about intimidation with my uncle. He said, "If fools are ever talking, yelling, or running their mouths, just take flight on them, no hesitation." I swung at Viper, aiming for his chin in a clear knockout, but hit him in the head. Damn, his head was hard. He seemed to just eat the punch, like it never fazed him. He looked up and rushed me with the combination of punches, then smashed me in the side of my rib cage with his knee to try to knock the wind out of me, but wasn't too successful. So he grabbed me and swung me in a circle, throwing me to the ground. I felt like a tornado hit me as soon as I hit the asphalt. It was the first time I had ever seen stars. When he came closer, I managed to tackle him, but he ended up on top of me, pounding on my head. He was heavier, a more skilled fighter. I couldn't get him off, so I was trying to hit him from the ground. I must have been doing something right, because before I knew it, Drogas jumped in on the action. For a while, they were both stomping on me, but it seemed like eternity. Sapo finally came over and pulled them off me and said, "Okay, that's it, boy. The little chump had enough." I got up looking completely rearranged with 2 black eyes and a busted lip. My fist was all bruised from hitting Viper, or more like the ground. Viper was pissed because his nose started bleeding. I was wondering and thought at least I landed one lucky punch while his homie started laughing at him. He said, "Fucking chavala, messed up my new shirt." I looked at him with a bruised head thinking, wait till my tío finds out, you fucking puto. I ran off and met up with Dennis and David, where I told them to meet me. They were shocked by how I looked. Then they called my mom. Through all of this, I felt good though. It was weird. Sort of like when a soldier comes back from war and escapes death. As bad as Viper beat me up, I didn't want to stop. On that day, I fell in love with pain. When my mom looked at me, she started crying and was pissed. I told my mom what had happened, and she was furious but knew her little boy was getting older and she could no longer protect him from everything. After a few days of letting my wounds heal, I finally went back to school. One day I was walking home when out of the alley, I was approached by these group of guys. Oh no, I thought. It was Viper, Sapo, and some other vato named Pecas. Viper said, "Hey dog, hey, come here. I'm sorry about the other day. How come you didn't tell us who your uncle was?" It seemed like it was too late. I replied, "I don't know, it seemed like it was too late." Then he started telling me how Drogas got locked up because he got caught with a gun. They were basically walking home with me like nothing had ever happened. Sapo said, "All right, fool, I live right here. Come by sometime and meet the fellas." We were telling them how you busted Viper's nose. He chuckled and looked at Viper, who you could tell was pissed. From there on, my career as a homeboy began. It was just the beginning for me, with a one-way ticket, jumping on the train to hell. Decades of pain, jail, drugs, deaths, and overdoses. Once you were in, you were in. There was no getting out, and everyone in this life has a price to pay.